there's a lot of noise in the fitness industry. Um, and I look for the people that cut through the noise. And if there's one person I found that does that well and does it consistently, is my guest today, Michael Smoak. So, Michael, welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here, honored to be able to chat with you. As soon as we got to know each other a little better and had a call, just shooting the wind and talking, I realized that you're the kind of guy I want to associate with, kind of people I think uh, I want to be around. And so I'm stoked to have a conversation and get some of my word out there and what I'm trying to share with the world. So thank you.
Heck yeah, man. That means a lot. Well, I think we should rewind to what, February of 2023, where you're working a corporate 9 to 5, still passionate about fitness, doing all the things you're doing, but the world did not know Michael Smoke yet. And now what? A few 100,000 people do. So what the heck happened?
Yeah, that's a great question that I'm still finding the answer to, and I'll let you know when I find it. Really, it's even later than that. It was mid-March. I think my first real video was I made a video February 7th and never touched it again. But then I made the protein video that went viral, I think like March 2nd, March 3rd, something like that. And I remember putting my phone down and looking up and saying, "Oh, wow." In the video, I say, 100 of you follow me and care about what I have to say. I had 100 followers, and I woke up the next morning and I had 3,000, and then it was 9,000, and then 15K, and then 50. And now we're at, I think it broke 160,000 yesterday. So it's the rate of growth doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm baffled, but truly humbled and honored. It's been really cool to hear people reach out and say that my videos have helped. And as far as what happened, there was no formula. I walked out of the gym a little bit fired up on a bit of an endorphin high, and I made that video off the cuff about how much protein you should eat. And the 1 gram per pound just seemed to really resonate with a couple of million people. And here we are, what, it's June now, and I've made over 100 videos. And I just feel grateful to have the opportunity to help people change their lives and tell them that this stuff is not easy, but it is very simple. And that's my whole motto.
Man, I love it. I've got a guy who I had on here named Ange Boudoir. He actually makes content about catching. He's like a baseball catcher, and he's kind of
Mhm.
blown up on TikTok in a similar way. And he always says, simple but hard. Some of the best things he's learned in life. They're really simple. I mean, they're hard, but it's simple. I think my favorite thing about you is that one, your content's amazing, and it's true. It's also hilarious. Just you make me laugh. But I think that I've done some studying about different generations, and me and you are. Some people say we're a millennial. We're really on like the back end of the millennial generation. I think we're more of the kind of zillennials, if you will, where it's like,
Yeah.
you know, we had a flip phone, maybe remember parts and bits and pieces of like 9/11, but we also grew up with social media and stuff. So we're not like iPad kids. We're kind of in the middle. All that said, I think that the newer generation, Gen Z, I'm hearing a lot that like people crave authenticity. They just want like the real stuff. And like on your post, you're just sitting in your car at times almost even rambling about good stuff, but it
Yeah.
doesn't have all the like amazing quality captured videos. It just feels very real. And I think it's resonating with people.
I appreciate that. That's the part that baffled me. I thought when I was making these videos, it was really I called it a quarter life crisis in the protein video where I walked out and I said, I have been in love with this stuff for 6 years. And anyone who asks me about it, I word vomit to them and probably freak them out a little bit. There's got to be at least 10 people out there that could hear what I have to say and think, that makes sense. And I've thought about the people who make these incredible edits and they have these massive followings. And I thought, I don't know how to do that and I don't plan to know how to do that. So I'm very fortunate that my Snapchat style and the camera monologues have taken off. And I think you're right. I think there's a lot to authenticity. I think people resonate with people who really, one, walk the walk, but two, I think you can immediately tell whether it's in video or in person if someone means and believes and stands by what they say. And I would never share on the internet or ask one of my coaching clients to do something I wouldn't do or haven't done or am not actively doing every day. And I think, thank the Lord, there's value in that. And that's where people are listening.
Yeah, totally agree. So you're 25. I'm 25 at the time of this recording. 6 years ago is when this began. You haven't always been this way. Let's back into some of your story and kind of how you started becoming this big health and fitness guy.
Sure, sure. Yeah, I have a I tell people all the time, I have a very boring story. I don't have a hero's arc. I didn't overcome some great adversity or struggle. I had a wonderful life growing up in the suburbs of Metro Atlanta with two wonderful parents, and I have two siblings, a brother and a sister. And I grew up with a very normal life. And sports were always in the picture from the time I was 6 until I graduated high school, which means exercise was always in the picture, especially with football. There was always an off-season strength regimen. So we were always working out. But after summer workouts, I'd go to Waffle House and get a double all-star special. I didn't have any cognition of nutrition or what it meant. I just knew eat big to get big, and I'm going to work out. And that worked when I was 18. And nutrition and health and all this stuff was an afterthought. I didn't understand any of it. I'd never given a thought to a calorie in my life. And all of a sudden, after high school, I graduated and I continued to eat like a high school two-sport athlete and drink like a college frat boy, and I wasn't moving. I wasn't doing anything to make up to keep the motor burning, and that quickly resulted in a body that I was far from happy with. I was probably 235 pounds, drinking most nights out of the week over summers, just going buck wild. And I'd always struggled with self-image. I was always a little heavier growing up, bullied throughout my childhood when I was in middle school and elementary school. Never obese, but certainly heftier. And I finally just hit a point where I knew every time I took my shirt off, I was thinking about it. I wasn't happy. And for some reason, I had a paradigm shift and I thought, I'm tired of looking this way. And I took the before photo that I've used in my Instagram posts and my TikTok posts of what I used to look like. And that was my paradigm shift of I've got to do something. And I didn't even know where to start. I knew the bodybuilding stuff, go to the gym, work out hard, eat oatmeal and eggs and chicken breast, eat 5 meals a day to keep your metabolism going because that's something people say for whatever reason. It doesn't make any sense. And that worked a little bit, right? It gave me some headway and a path forward. I lost a few pounds and was lucky enough to have the trait of being a little bit of a self-starter. I like to figure things out. So I started researching. And where did I go? YouTube University, where you can learn just about anything for free. And I found a few key, what would be considered now OGs in the fitness space, people like Thomas DeLauer, Greg O'Gallagher, Jeff Nippard, Mike Matthews, the guys that have been doing this for a long, long time. Nick Bear, as your hat alludes to, was one of the first people I
Oh
found. I
yeah.
was watching him back when he was still in the Army.
Wow.
So I learned the words calories started coming up, the words strength training, progressive overload, walking, stuff I learned from O'Gallagher and Kino Body. And it all started to make sense to me. And I started to hear them talk more about the mindset. And one of the great things I'll give credit to Greg O'Gallagher for is he talks about being physically fit is such a manifestation of your habits and your identity, and it's something that no one can take from you when you build it, and it's something that most people really struggle to accomplish. And if you get there, you have this amazing trait that simply can't be stripped from you by any other person except for yourself. It's the ultimate form of ownership. And that's when I started to think, yeah, getting physically fit, I think will make me more confident, make me more sociable. I think it may create better opportunities for a better life for me. And that's where I started to learn to fall in love with the process rather than, what I was doing at first as a former fat kid of chasing abs. And as I grew and learned more about the fine tunes of details of health and wellness and the science behind it, I learned that I love learning about our physiology. I think it's incredible that we can do these things to change the way we look and feel. We can change our state of mind by hopping in an ice cold bath or getting in a sauna or busting it in the gym. You feel anxious or sad, go do that. You'll feel better. It fascinates me. And I started to age and get older, now being 25, and see my loved ones around me. I'm the black sheep in the way that no one in my family really cares about their health until they get the call from the doctor and they have some bad news and they've got to manage it. And I told myself, I made an agreement with myself a few years ago that I would never put the people I love in the future in the position that I've been in of worrying about the people I love and care about's health and well-being because they're not taking the time to invest in themselves. So that's where my mission really sharpened was I want to be the best version of myself so people don't have to worry about me.
I'm struggling to stay in my seat. I'm fired up. Let's
What's going
go.
on?
No, I know. Well, it's funny because there's a lot of people that know who Greg O'Gallagher is. I obviously, but you're the first guy that kind of got your start through him. And in COVID, I found him a couple years after you. And shout out to you, Greg. Learned a lot from this guy. It's interesting though because most people like if you want to learn something, YouTube University, you can find it. But
Yep.
most people are not willing to put in the work. And I'll put it this way: there's many things in my life that I say I want to learn. It's all the information's there. I say I want to play the guitar because I like music. I'm a pretty musical guy, yet I clearly don't care enough because I haven't been disciplined enough long enough to do it. And like with
Right.
fitness, it just so happened that I was able to find that routine. And I used to roll my eyes at the story that you just told of people that are like, I just love getting up and sweating and running outside and getting a good workout in. I just feel so good. And I would roll my eyes because deep down I was insecure. And I was like, I don't want to put in that work. I don't know where to begin. And I'm very grateful that I finally, uh, the stars aligned, if you will. And I was like, I'm going to learn how to do this. And it's crazy. It's like, if you can just go for, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month and build that habit, you start seeing the results and then you catch the bug and you're off to the races. But I think most people can't stick to something long enough to actually to maintain it and see the results, and then maybe they just quit. But I'm really excited for this new journey that you're going on, and I want to just ask you a bunch of fitness questions, but I'll start by sharing I'm excited about you beginning to coach people because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, they are definitely paying for knowledge from you because you're going to share a whole lot, but they technically could find a lot of that knowledge other places. But I think that what they're going to find value from in you is the accountability and the ear to listen to and the plan that's written out. And so I just can you tell the audience like you've worked a 9 to 5. I think you're a couple days
Yeah.
out from maybe not doing that. What new chapter are you beginning now?
Yeah, so the coaching is something that happened organically as a result of making the page and it exploding the way it did. People just started asking, "Do you offer coaching? Do you offer coaching?" And I thought, why would I not at this point? I'd helped over 10 people throughout my life, friends, friends of friends who just knew I lived the lifestyle. I helped someone lose 100 pounds who's close to me. I helped another buddy prep for a bodybuilding show. So I'd been on the either end of the spectrum of fine-tuned details versus this guy is just obese and doesn't want to be anymore. And I've done that 4 or 5 times. And I thought, if I have the ability to do this with all these people asking, why would I not seize the opportunity? And I think to your point, what they're paying me for is accountability. What they're also paying me for is the one currency they can't get more of, and that's time. It's the
Mm-hmm.
one asset in this life we cannot make more of and we cannot get back. And I've done the work, I've invested the time on the front end the last 5, 6 years, cutting through research and listening to podcasts with PhDs and MDs. I have the knowledge. So these people don't have to spend hours looking for a program that one is effective, works for them, fits their schedule, understanding calories and nutrition. I'm their central pane of glass and also their central point of accountability for information, motivation, and discipline. And I think that's where the exchange of currency and the exchange of value comes in because they work with me for 3, 6, or 12 months. And if they invest and they're serious about it, then they're set for life. And this stuff becomes what it is for me now. And it's like tying your shoes or brushing your teeth. It's just something you do and it's on autopilot and you don't have to think about it. That is my goal with everyone that I coach from start to finish.
Yeah, I love that you brought up that point. They're buying time, and I think one thing that I'm seeing with our age group, as we've probably watched our parents who are trying to be mindful of money, is this fear of like investing in yourself. Like you're taking all your money because maybe you're not making a ton at our age, and so you're
Right.
putting into a savings account or you're saving up for a house or something like that. And I really believe that if you have some extra money laying around and you want to buy yourself time. Like you either pay with stuff in money or time. And
Mm-hmm.
so as a, I some people roast me for this, but it's like I started paying somebody to cut the grass because I'm just like I'm already wanting to be a better husband, be around home more and spend more time doing other things. And it's not like I'm watching Netflix while the grass is getting cut. It's just like that was one thing in my life that I felt like was going to be worth it. And so for you, think about what's the cost of not learning this stuff and waiting till you're older? I know most of you are younger, and if you can learn this stuff in your 20s, it really does set you up for the rest of your life. And so, definitely encourage you to find a Michael or Michael right here himself. So I got to ask you this though: there's a lot of noise in the fitness space. I mean, there's a gym on every corner. There's different kinds of fitness. There's gurus all over the place. There's courses to buy. I know that there's a lot of good stuff out there, but there's also a lot of stuff that's pretty damaging and just not true. What are some of your thoughts as you really have put in the time just on the fitness industry in general?
Yeah, real quick, I love to call back to what you said about what's the cost of not doing something? That's a sign, also a sign of a great sales guy. It's a great way to handle an objection. I had a client say, that's expensive. I'm talking to a few coaches. I don't know if I have the budget. And I did ask him, I'll be frank with you, what's the cost of not doing something? Staying where you are, not having a plan, not knowing what to do, not knowing when to take the first step. And he kind of sat and stared at me and leaned back and said, I haven't thought about that yet. And then he signed on for a 3-month package about 20 minutes later. So
Nice.
that is truly a cost of not doing something and just thinking, oh, I'll get fit one day. Why not today? And why not work with someone who can help get you there? So, in terms of the noise in the fitness space, I think that I hate to say more bad than good, but there are somehow people that rise to the top and get to the top of people's algorithms and video feeds with money and investments and private equity that are preaching crap. Most people in this space, 80-20 rule, I hate to say most, there are some fantastic ones. Most of them are pushing a product. And there are people that, I can think of off the top of my head, but I won't name drop for potential legal reasons, that say things like, you can eat pizza and get jacked, just take my pill, take my fat burner. And because everyone's looking for the magic pill, because they don't want to hear it's simply building the habits over many days, weeks, months, and even years to become who you say you want to become, that is not what the average person wants to hear. The simple, effective, right answer. So it's easier for them to spend $55 one time on a pill that doesn't do anything rather than make the investment. I think looking for people in the fitness industry that aren't trying to sell you something, one thing I think that gives Alex Hormozy, a guy we're a huge fan of, both of us, is he starts a lot of his YouTube videos with, my name's Alex Hormozy. I've made $100 million in my 20s and I have nothing to sell you. And immediately there's a
Mm.
disarming factor that comes through that in his content because he's simply sharing the information with you because he wants to. And that's why I had the TikTok page. So I think my opinion is if your radar is going off for authenticity for someone you're looking to or listening to, and it ends in a product push, it ends in a supplement push, then maybe be weary because for every one of those, there's 5 people that are simply sharing information that genuinely want to help the average person realize you can feel so much better and it really doesn't take that much, but you have to be willing to just say, I'm going to do this for 3 months. I'm going to do this for 6 months. And I think when you detach yourself from an outcome, the person who wants abs or just wants to lose 20 pounds, and you accept that this is actually just a perpetual journey and the time will pass anyway, you may as well make it count, right? My awakening moment was stop looking for a finish line. Abs aren't what does it. Running the marathon isn't what does it. It's accepting and embracing the journey because the man who loves walking will walk further than the man who loves the destination. So I think if people are telling you, hop on my 12-week program and you'll be exactly where you want to be in 12 weeks, or buy my supplement and you'll get shredded in 30 days, that's the red flag. That is what you need to watch out for because most of the time, those people do not have your best interest at heart.
Period. Anything great or anything that you're super proud of typically does not come on the back end of easy.
Hmm.
It's like it takes hard work, and it frustrates me. One, the people that take a bite of pizza and they're like, "Are you tired of just eating lettuce every day? Do you want to eat this and still be shredded?" And like we both know
I think we're
exactly what
talking
we're
about the
talking about.
same guy here.
Shredded hint. But like it's just unbelievable, and it's preying on people, and it's telling them what they want to hear. I've clicked on that stuff before I knew what I was talking about. I had a friend in college that even bought it, and like it's just it's ridiculous. There's also these fads that can work, like aggressive cutting, where I'm not going to necessarily mention any diets, but it's like people like just lose a ton of weight in like 4 weeks, but then
Hmm.
yo-yo because it's not really sustainable either. And I don't know. It's sad. Like it really is simple, but hard. I mean, I would just love to hear. We keep saying it's simple. There's probably a lot of people listening to this that are like, okay, Hampton and Michael, you figured it out. But like, I've tried this, I've tried that. I know that you're supposed to eat in a calorie deficit to lose weight, but I don't think it's actually working. Like, can
Hmm.
you just start wherever you want to go as far as like maybe nutrition first when it comes to, maybe how to lose weight, how to gain weight, protein, that kind of stuff. Let's just maybe talk about that a little bit.
Absolutely. So obviously it comes down to, as you know, obvious to you and maybe new to listeners, we know now, scientifically speaking, it's very well established that the law of energy conservation is what is at play. What does that mean? Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. It simply transfers and changes forms. The energy we're talking about here is calories. Now, no, my body doesn't know when I eat a granola bar that it has 190 calories, but calories are simply the measurement we use to quantify the amount of energy in a given food source. So it does come down to caloric intake to change body weight and protein intake to determine body composition. Because when we lose body fat, we are, of course, at risk for losing muscle, especially if you're natural and not on performance enhancing drugs. And that is a reality of the situation. So by keeping our protein high, we're able to mitigate that risk. By strength training, we're able to mitigate that risk. However, when I start talking calories and calorie deficit to lose weight, calorie surplus to gain weight, and calorie maintenance to stay the same weight, sometimes people's eyes glaze over or they immediately feel overwhelmed. Because if you've never had to look at that and I throw energy balance in your face, you're going to get overwhelmed. So I think in terms of easily implementable habits, there are things you can do before you ever start tracking. And this is something I do with my coaching clients who are starting from ground zero. If you've never had to track a calorie, you've never been aware and conscious of what you're putting in your body, I would say the first step is just monitoring what you eat a little bit. I think the easiest way to do that, limit your snacking and have two protein centric meals a day. If you don't want to measure on a food scale, which I think is the most foolproof way to succeed, go with palm sized portions of protein. Make it half your plate a protein source, whether that be a chicken, a fish, a steak. I'm a huge red meat proponent personally. I feel great when I eat it. Make half your plate protein, put vegetables tossed in some sort of fat like an olive oil or a butter on the other half of the plate. Make that your lunch. If you want to have breakfast, great. Make it a protein rich, low carbohydrate breakfast like eggs and chicken or eggs and ground beef with some avocado. That's my go to. Or skip breakfast. I'm gonna blow some minds here. Somehow this isn't mainstream. You can skip breakfast and have a perfectly functioning, healthy metabolism. That was a game changer for me. Intermittent fasting. You don't have to eat breakfast to lose weight. When I figured that out as a former fat kid with a huge appetite, it changed the game for me. It makes it so much easier to consume less energy and less calories if you just shorten the window in which you do it. So, if you're trying to lose 20 pounds, consider skipping breakfast, hydrate, have some water, maybe some black coffee, and have your first meal around noon and make half the plate protein, half the plate vegetables. If you get hungry throughout the day between lunch and dinner, have a protein centric snack. And if you think, I don't really want a protein snack, I don't want a meat and cheese roll up, then you're probably not really physically hungry. You're eating out of habit or boredom. And then
Mm-hmm.
for dinner, try the same thing and add a starchy vegetable or a carbohydrate. Add a potato, add some rice. Don't be afraid to toss things in a little butter or olive oil. Fat is not going to kill you, nor is it going to make you fat. I promise. So I think easily implementable habits start with the baseline and the foundation. And it's a master food list. Pick a list of whole foods. I have one that I give my clients. And for the first 2 weeks, I say you can eat as much as you want as long as it's on this list. Because the fact of the matter is, if you're eating mostly foods from the earth, something that grew in the ground, grew on a tree, had a mom or dad, it's kind of a dark way to put it, but an animal, um, the odds of you overeating are slim. That's just a fact of the matter. If you're eating processed foods and stuff out of a box or bag, those foods are quite literally engineered to make us overeat. They have food scientists putting just the right amount of Dorito dust on the chip so you want another bite. I mean, we know this. So if you limit that stuff, you may, as a byproduct, naturally be in that calorie deficit. And that oftentimes with my coaching clients works to kill the first 10 pounds easily. So limit snacking, seek out protein, become a PSP, a protein seeking person in your meals, and try to have those palm sized portions. And that is a great start. And outside of that, we can get into that a little later, the movement and activity side of things. We can talk about that. But nutritionally, that is where people should start. Is if it didn't come from the ground, a tree, or a mom and dad, try not to eat too much of it.
Dude, PSP, protein seeking person. I've never heard that before.
I made
I
that up
think
like
you're,
2 days ago, and I'm running with it.
dude, you have to. We got to get that trademark. That's super good. Man, you're right. I mean, doing those things, just starting there, you are most likely going to see some good results there. I mean, we already eat so much garbage. We eat when we're bored. We have so many habits of of decades of living that we just
Hmm.
need to absolutely break down. So I think that's definitely a great starting place. I think, I mean, some people are like, but I'm a foodie and I love this or that, and I mean, I know that we talked about this the other day. There's plenty of like really healthy recipes that you can make. I think the average person might have a hard time like learning about all of that and everything. But do you ever run into people? I guess what I'm trying to say is like I've realized when I understand that it makes me feel much better and food is more like fuel. I don't care as much about like it always tasting amazing, which by the way, I still think it tastes great. But I guess do you run into people a lot where you share that with them? They're like, well, that sounds kind of boring. What about this or what about that?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that that's a common misconception. I think that there's such a problematic bleed of this the old school bro bodybuilder mentality of if you want to get big, you have to eat chicken, brown rice, broccoli, no seasoning, maybe some salt if you're lucky. You've got to drink water, you've got to drink protein shakes every 3 hours. I think there's this really unhealthy, toxic form of almost gatekeeping in the health and fitness community where these big jacked bodybuilders who are most likely on steroids and aren't a realistic expectation, they want you to believe that what they've achieved is so hard. It's so hard. But the fact is, it's not. It's difficult to stick with, but you don't have to eat unseasoned food. You don't have to eat only broccoli. I would recommend you even don't eat brown rice. Why? Because it tastes like dirt and it's not required to get healthy. So I think making another time investment of spending 45 minutes on YouTube learning the cooking basics. There are people that make videos around that, how to do everything basic in a kitchen, understanding you can season your food and it can taste good. I mean, I genuinely look forward to everything I eat, and 95% of what I eat is a whole natural food source. And I don't personally know anybody that if you put a perfectly cooked, well seasoned ribeye or New York strip and some oven roasted potatoes on a plate and you put that in front of me, then I'm going to tell you that that's gross. And that's a great example of a high protein, balanced, nutrient dense meal that can help support your goals. So I think there's a component to understanding that you are eating for fuel and it's not going to taste as insane. It's not going to be the same overload on your dopamine receptors that an Oreo or a freaking Twinkie would be or some Doritos. But once you realize I feel incredible throughout the day, this food does taste good, and my life is better as a result, that's when you start to evolve and there's no going back. And you realize that those dopamine rich foods that are hijacking your central nervous system are just not worth it.
Yeah, for sure. I've got a lot more questions and things we can talk about there, and maybe we circle back there. But let's move over to the movement, strength training kind of portion of things. So obviously, this is broad. You can go in a lot of different directions. But what are just some basics for people in that area?
Sure. Again, back to the foundation ground zero person that's hearing this for the first time, I would say 7 days a week, set a rule, 60 minutes of movement total. You can do 10-minute walks 6 times. You can do an hour walk in the morning and then sit on your butt. I don't care. Be outside in the fresh air for 45 to 60 minutes a day if you're starting from nothing. And that comes in the form of when you start to track and look at your step count. If you walk for 60 minutes a day briskly and you're moving a little bit throughout the day doing your normal activities, you'll probably be close to 10,000 steps a day. And where the national average is about 2,600, you are doing 5 times better than the average person. And with that comes an added benefit. The average person, depending on your weight, burns an extra 5 to 700 calories a day just from getting 10 to 12,000 steps a day every day. So you don't want to start with the gym? Fine. Burpees are free. Push-ups are free. Air squats are free. Do all that and walk, and you'll see incredible results. Now, if you want to take it to the gym, obviously the optimal outcome is going to be getting on a workout program that is structured and forces growth over time in the way of what's called progressive overload, strength gain. So if you can bench 100 pounds for 5 reps of 3 sets, next week I want you to do 105 pounds for 5 sets, or excuse me, 5 reps, 3 sets, and so on and so forth. Before you know it, you put 50 pounds on your bench press and your chest and triceps have grown. That is how muscle growth works in a very boiled down reductionist explanation. But maybe you don't want to do all that yet. Go to the gym and establish the habit of walking in the door. Once you're there, you're probably going to do something anyway. Now, I heard a long time ago that in life, 80% of the battle is just showing up. And on days that, and there are many days that I don't want to train, I don't want to work out. Once I'm in the door, I'm going to do it because you're there. And if you don't want to follow a program yet, you're not there yet, you're just learning, do a machine circuit, hop on a treadmill, just sweat. Get in the habit of knowing what that feels like, that personal achievement, that small win of going in and doing some work, and the endorphin release that comes with rigorous exercise. And then you want to take it to the next level, start researching how to build a structured strength training program or work with a coach, me or someone like me, that can give you the program and say, if you do this for 12 weeks, you will get stronger in all of your lifts and that will create muscle growth. And that is where I would start is 45 to 60 minutes of movement 7 days a week and get in the gym 2, 3 times a week is plenty. I've been training for 5 years. I only work out 3 days a week. And once you've established that habit in 30 days, it's going to be so ingrained in you. You're going to love it so much. I guarantee you that it's going to be like brushing your teeth. It's going to be part of your routine, and you're going to want to take it to the next level. You're going to want to learn how to build a program. You're going to want to learn about calories. You're going to want to track your steps. It's this incredible, just momentum by osmosis phenomenon that happens when you just stick with something and lean into the discomfort of beginning.
Hmm. This is good, man. I mean, what Michael has shared with us is two pretty basic, simple things to do to get. I mean, if you're at zero, eat, be a PSP, seek out protein, and then just get moving 10,000 steps a day. I mean, you may be definitely above that, but and he's kind of shared different levels. But again, he says this isn't easy, but it's really simple. And I think that if you can get into the habit, all of a sudden it becomes something that you really, really enjoy. I think one of the biggest issues that we see, and we've talked about this, is just a lack of education.
Yep.
He made a video the other day, which I love the first thing you said. Everything in this video is from a place of love. But can you tell us about your experience on your way to Kava the other day? What you saw and some of the thoughts you had around that?
Yeah, yeah. It certainly sounded a little bit bougie when I said I'm on my way to get kava, and someone said not everyone can afford kava. Obviously, that's not the point I was making, but
It's not even
just
that
to point
much
out,
though. Like
huh, it was
if
like a
you get
coffee
like a
cup
large, yeah, like
$12,
by
and
the
I
time somebody gets the extra burger at Burger King, it's probably $12 anyways.
exactly, exactly. So I was on the way. I was at my office in the 9 to 5, and it was like just after noon. It was 12 o'clock p.m., and I was on the way to Kava, and I saw the Burger King and McDonald's line wrapped around the building. Now, I'm not talking about the dirt poor person. I'm not talking about the person going for the macro friendly options on the menu. I'm talking about the average person. And I said in that video, the average person is asleep at the wheel of their own life. They are not conscious of what they put in their body. They're not thinking about what they eat and when they eat and why they eat. Most people feel a twinge of hunger and think, I've got to go get a candy bar. I've got to go eat something. The fact of the matter is, most of the time we feel a twinge of hunger, it passes, it fades. Intermittent fasting can teach you that. You're not going to die if you don't eat every 3 hours. I promise you. We evolved to carry some stored energy around our midsection here in the form of a spare tire. So I was on the way and I thought to myself, there are so many people in that drive-through line who are just going to eat that burger, fries, and Coke at noon and then be hungry again in 3 hours, be falling asleep at their desk, be bloated and uncomfortable, and just have no idea why. And I think to your point, it comes from that place of a lack of education and a lack of finding someone who can teach them, like I was fortunate enough to do 5 years ago on YouTube, that shows them like, hey, you are what you eat, quite literally. And if you just make a few simple changes and take an hour to learn the basics, you have no idea how much better you could feel if you swap the burger for a grilled chicken wrap even. I'll be crazy. Stay with the fast food menu. If you had something like that, something lower in processed sugar and carbohydrate, higher in protein, and maybe you took your 60-minute lunch break and you ate for 30 and you walked for 30, you'd get back to your desk and you would feel invigorated. So I think to your point, there's a huge lack of education, and that's what I'm working actively every day to try to fix. And it's an uphill battle, but I'll never stop fighting it. And I think if people just learn the basics, the whole paradigm of their life can be shifted.
Absolutely. And the one of the reasons I wanted you on here is, let's say most people listening to this are a bit younger in their careers. Maybe they're still in college, people in their 20s. And guys, if you can figure this out right now in life, wow, like you have a long, awesome life ahead of you. I'm really excited. I want my kids one day to like see me working out. Like I want to take them for runs. And of course, there's so much more to life than all of that. But I think the other parts of life are better fueled by us taking care of our bodies. So, I mean, I guess, it, do you have a bit of encouragement. And I think a lot of this is already, but just to the person that's younger, that's kind of like, I'm fine. I'll figure that out later. My metabolism is pretty good right now. Or why do you? Oh, this is good. You said this the other day. Like, why do you care? Why is it that big of a deal? We're all going to die anyways. I feel like I look fine. I feel like I feel all right. Why does this all matter so much?
Yeah, that's a great question. It makes me think of why I started the name Higher Up Wellness in the first place. The idea Higher Up Wellness was actually born out of a college class. So I went to business school. I have a bachelor's degree in professional selling, which is uncommon. Basically like a marketing degree with a heavy focus in sales. And one of the classes required was a branding class. The professor was the former vice president of branding for Coca-Cola, and he managed the Coke Disney relationship. Really sharp guy. And we had a semester long project. You could either take a failing, quote unquote, failing brand and build a brand plan to turn it around, or you could take your own idea and build it into a brand and present that at the end of the semester. And that's where I came up with the idea Higher Up Wellness. I knew two things. I loved fitness, I loved training. I firmly believe that if I'm working out and my nutrition is dialed in, I'm sharper in my classes, I'm thinking better, I'm better than competitors in the job market that I'm trying to earn that offer from, right? If all skills are held equal, I believe if I'm taking care of myself physically and I'm on point there, that I will beat that person next to me. And I knew I loved business. To this day, I love, my 9 to 5 is a sales job. I love sitting in rooms with decision makers, VPs, C-suite executives, similar to what you're doing, understanding what makes them tick and understanding their challenges. And I believe that there was a parallel between those two, that if those high performers, those people that want to do whatever it takes to get to the top, they want to be CEO, they want to be a VP, but most of them aren't prioritizing their physical health. Most of them are a little bit overweight, probably don't sleep enough, probably just grab something out of a bag in the drive-through on the way home from a 12-hour workday. I wanted to build a brand that showed what I called executive health and wellness consulting, working with the high performers that have everything else dialed. And if they realize if they dial in their physical health, that everything else improves. So my motivation to someone our age, I have experienced, and my close friends, my friends in my personal life have experienced this. If you get a handle on health, nutrition, and regular exercise, regular sunlight, getting outside, you will perform better in your role. And I think the average person our age, on average, is hungry. They don't want to stay in the same job forever. They want to make more money. They want to earn more responsibility. They want to move up. I believe firmly, and no one will change my mind, if you get a handle on your physical health and you conquer that ultimate form of self respect, every facet of your life will improve, including your professional life. People see a fit person walk into a room with a meeting, and I think they immediately make snap judgments. It's human nature. That shows discipline, delayed gratification, sticking to a goal long term, self respect. And there's a confidence that's inexplicable that comes with that. So I think if the average 20 to 25-year-old hearing this needs motivation to get going, use your professional career and your desire to make more, do better, and be better. Root that in the foundation of physical health that you can build and no one can take from you.
Whew, amazing answer. I mean, your body is your vessel. It's your vehicle. It's what does everything for you. So it clearly is going to help you in other areas of life. Mic drop right there. That's super good. Well, don't have a ton of time left here. Me and Michael are squeezing this in because we got to make it happen. But a couple of maybe more like 201 questions, and these can be a little bit more rapid fire for the people for the guy that's listening to this, that I see you at the gym every day, but maybe you kind of have a different plan, or maybe you're bouncing from lifting for a month and then your buddy asks you to do a half marathon, so then you train for that. And there's nothing wrong with any of that, but I think people that aren't sticking to plans, protein. What was that protein video all about? The one that went off.
1 gram per pound, 1 gram per pound of body weight. That's the easiest way to do it. If I'll make it real quick, if you have more than 50 pounds of body fat to lose, multiply by your goal weight. If you're 250 pounds, you want to be 180, get 180 grams of protein. But if you're 180 pounds and you're fairly average, looking to either get bigger or get leaner, go for 180 grams of protein. 1 gram times your body weight, quickest and easiest way to do it. If you have more than 50 pounds to lose, multiply by goal weight and let it rip.
That's awesome. Okay, to the person who works out 6 days a week, that maybe isn't seeing the results, and they kind of go in and hit the bench press and they do some pull ups, and maybe they even hit legs sometimes, but they're not really tracking anything at all. I mean, what do you say to them? Do they need to be more intense with their lifts? Do they need to track their lifts, progressive overload? Like, what do you say to that person?
I say all of the above. I'm old fashioned. I track my training sessions in a notebook just like this one. You can use apps. There's an app called Strong where you can track it all digitally. I say pick a few key, Strong. I say
Grego
pick
Gallagher.
a, yeah, yeah. I say pick a few key movements. If you want a bigger upper body, pick a compound movement. Your compound movements are your bench, squat, deadlift, overhead press, pull up. Pick a bench press, incline dumbbell, incline barbell, flat bench, whatever. Pick a couple of upper body movements that hit multiple muscle groups. Pick a couple of lower body movements and hit those a couple of times a week with a simple goal. Every workout I do this exercise, I want to either add a rep or I want to add 5 pounds. So you want a bigger chest, and you get on the bench and you do 3 sets of 5 reps at 200 pounds. The next workout, you do 205. The next bench workout, 210. Or 3 sets of 6 reps, 7 reps. Either way, what you're doing is increasing the force and the stimulus on the muscle that is going to force it to grow. It is that simple. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And if you want your body to look dramatically different, you have to be able to measure your progress and force adaptation on your body over time by getting stronger. It's that simple.
That's simple. I heard someone say this the other day, but I can't give them credit because I can't remember who it was. But I want to copy them. If I were to write a book, which I don't, I'm very young, don't have too much to write about these days, but I think I would call it "Boring Your Way to Success." Like,
Love it.
like literally, the gym workouts that I do are very boring, and I'm not going around and hitting all these fancy machines or these like tiny muscles. It's just like getting a little bit stronger. Like that's all you need to do. And maybe that gets a little bit old. Yes, there's ways to kind of like spice things up, but like if you can just embrace the simple kind of boring, like for me in sales, it's like make 100 calls a day, period. No
Hmm.
question. Just do it. And you'll look back and say, wow, I'm really glad I did that. And your future self will thank you. Um, Another one. I like running and I like lifting, but I want to get better at running and I want to get stronger. I can't do both at the same time, right?
You sure can. It's totally possible. Uh, Recover. Make sure you're sleeping enough and eating enough, 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Figure out your calories, eat appropriately, eat whole foods. But listen to your body. I to this day, my cruise control is 3 strength workouts a week and 3 runs a week with one long run. You can do both. And if you're starting from ground zero, start with a couple of 20-minute runs and your normal gym routine. You can do this, but you have to listen to your body. You have to buy good gear, buy good shoes. That's a huge one. So you're not hurting your ankles and shins, but you can do it with a structured training program and listening to your body. That's the biggest thing I would say I recommend. If everything hurts, don't do that. It's pretty simple advice, right? But a lot of my coaching clients, I have one lady, she's training for a half marathon and had never done strength training before. So I've added in a low volume, high intensity strength training program to complement her running. And she loves it. She says she feels more durable. She's stronger in the gym. She feels faster. So don't go in and kill yourself in the gym. Low volume, high intensity work and incrementally build the running over time. A good goal rule of thumb is 10% per week. If you did 100 minutes last week, do 110 or 111, whatever it is, next week. And your body will adapt to the change, assuming you're taking care of yourself.
Boom. Man, these rapid fires are fun. All right, I got another one for us. You and I talked about this the other day, and I think this is really important to share if you made it this far in the episode. I like how you encourage people to just start with the portion size, with protein and everything, because we do know that it really does come down to caloric intake, and so there are those people like me and you that are kind of all or nothing. And once you realize that you really can't control how much you gain or how much you lose, you can get kind of addicted to it. And then it can
Yeah.
create maybe an unhealthy relationship with food. And all of a sudden it's like you're trying to look like a bodybuilder year round, and that's not healthy for you. And like, who cares if you're like absolutely shredded? Like, that's not like a quality of life that's like very fun to maintain. So while we're saying be disciplined and lean into all this stuff, do you have anything to say to the person of like, hey, we also live our lives too, or you don't have to like be the most regimented person in the world? I don't know. I just kind of want to give a caveat to everyone so we don't sound like just like the bozos that are like, yeah, be perfect with fitness and everything.
Right. Yeah, I think it comes a lot to perspective and the way you look at things. I heard a quote a long time ago in school, actually, in the sales program, that said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at start to change. And it's the power of a perspective. And I think when I learned personally, as someone who struggled with disordered eating and training as a punishment after a binge weekend, I learned that I don't train because I hate the way I look and I hate my body. I train and I eat a certain way because I love myself and is the ultimate form of self-respect. So I would challenge those people to have the right perspective on their health and wellness. And that perspective truly is everything. If you view it in a way of self-love, self-care, and self-respect, I believe that that relationship will start to form more naturally for the average person.
Beautiful answer. And by the way, everyone, I know plenty of people, and I've dipped into this too, where it's like I've been focusing way more on fitness than other areas of my life, like relationships, work, my relationship with God. And like, I don't want those to get out of balance either. So we're not here just saying that life is all about fitness, but I do think your life will get better if you do focus on it. The last thing I want to know is, and as you're 2 days out from the corporate 9 to 5, do you have like a vision for 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years down the road? Is it too early to ask you about that? I want us to be able to look back one day and hear if you were right or not.
Yeah, a vision for me personally, Lord willing, I'd love to be able to do this full time. I got a taste of what it's like to wake up and feel like I get to do this and I get to help people rather than I have to go to work. Have to versus get to is very important to me. I feel like I get to be on this podcast with you. I feel like I get to make the content and get to coach people and make clients' lives better. That's my mission, is to grow this into a brand and something I am fortunate enough to be able to do full time. And also, I do want to share with people that there might be a magic pill. The thing that people say that I said earlier to steer away from, there is a magic pill in my opinion, and it's action.
Mm,
Action is the thing that creates what you're looking for. The people that ask me, I'm looking for discipline, motivation, confidence. How do I build it? Our good friend Alex Hormozy said, you don't become confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror. You become confident by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. I am a runner. I am fit. No one can take that from me. I want to teach people that if they take action and they lean into discomfort at first, the action creates the confidence, which creates momentum, and over time, that will turn into discipline long term. And that is my vision. That is what I want to share with the world in higher up wellness.
I don't know if you can see us, everyone, but our faces are like getting red out of like fired upness right now. At
Yeah, I'm,
least
I'm
mine
getting
is.
fired up right now.
Um, and it is 1 minute from the hour, and both of us have to go. But this will happen again, guys. I highly recommend scheduling a call with Michael. This guy is the real deal. He will help you out a lot, or at least steer you in the right direction. Michael, I didn't tell you this. It's kind of cheesy, but I like my people to say "wake up and lead" to end this. So I normally say it's time for you and me, and then you say to wake up and lead. Sound cool?
Yeah,
All right, it's time for you and me.
to wake up and lead.
Let's go.